If I had known the truth, I would have let her fall. It was last Tuesday, rainy, like always. I was folding my mum's laundry, her sick clothes, as I called them, oversized cardigans, thermal socks, and those awful fleece pyjama sets. The house smelled like menthol rub and microwaved oatmeal. I heard her call out from the bedroom, that familiar croak she used when she wanted something. "Melanie, can you bring me the blue blanket, the one with the satin trim? My legs are freezing." I paused, sock in hand. "You've got 3 blankets already." She didn't answer, just let the silence stretch, like she always did when she wanted me to feel guilty. I dropped the sock. "Coming," I muttered. "My name's Melanie. I'm 33, and I've spent the last 5 years taking care of my mother full-time. No job, no vacations, no dates. Just sponge baths, pill schedules, and guilt trips." I grabbed the blanket from the linen closet and walked it into her room. She was propped up in bed, pillows stacked like a throne, TV remote in one hand, a mug of tea in the other. She looked up at me with that practiced fragility, her voice soft. "You're such a good girl, you know that?" I didn't answer. I just tucked the blanket around her legs. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she added. I forced a smile. "You'd manage," she chuckled, then winced. "Oh, don't make me laugh. It hurts too much." I stood there for a second, watching her sip her tea. Her nails were painted, freshly, pale pink, no chips. "When did you get your nails done?" I asked. She blinked. "What?" "Your nails. They look new." "Oh, Gianna did them for me last week. She stopped by while you were at the pharmacy." Gianna hadn't been by in months. I didn't say anything. I just nodded and turned to leave. But as I passed the coat rack by the door, something fell. One of her jackets, the beige wool one she never wore. I bent to pick it up and felt something stiff in the pocket. An envelope. It was thick, marked in black ink. "Private, do not open." I froze. I shouldn't have opened it, I know that. But I did. Inside were receipts, dozens. Boutique shops, a yoga studio, a cafe downtown I hadn't been to since I was 25. All dated within the last 6 months. I stared at them, my hands shaking. She hadn't left the house in years. Not without me. Not without the wheelchair. That's what she told everyone. I shoved the envelope back in the pocket and hung the coat up slowly. My heart was pounding so loud I thought she'd hear it. That night, I sat in the kitchen, staring at the receipts. I laid them out like puzzle pieces. One from a dance studio, another from a shoe store, running souls. I heard her in the next room, humming along to some old 80s song. Her voice was strong, too strong. My phone buzzed, a group chat notification from my sisters. "Marissa, just booked our spa day for Mum's birthday weekend. Can't wait to see you all." "Jana, I'll bring the champagne and the photo album. Let's make this one special. She deserves it." I stared at the screen. My stomach turned. They hadn't been here in months. They didn't see the way she made me feel like a criminal for wanting an hour to myself. They didn't hear her whisper things like, "You'll understand when you're a mother," or "I just don't want to be alone when I die." I texted back, "Sounds good. I'll handle the slideshow." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, receipts spread across the table like evidence, because that's what they were. Evidence. The next morning, I made her breakfast. Oatmeal, toast, chamomile tea. She smiled when I brought it in. "You're such a blessing," she said, reaching for my hand. I smiled back. I know. Later that day, I started cleaning out the hall closet. She was napping, or pretending to. I found more receipts in an old purse, a half-used punch card for a smoothie bar, a Metro card with recent activity. I opened her laptop, password protected. I guessed it on the third try. Angel Mel 33. I searched for anything, photos, emails, nothing, but something told me to keep looking. That night, while she slept, I crept into her room. Her breathing was even, peaceful. I moved to the closet, careful not to make a sound. Behind a stack of old journals, I found a shoebox. Inside, a flash drive. It was tucked inside a worn ballet slipper. I stared at it, my fingers trembling. Back in my room, I plugged it into my laptop. The screen lit up. A folder labelled Mornings, another Stretching, and then Dance Class. I clicked on the first video. There she was, my mother, in yoga pants, doing sun salutations in our living room. The timestamp 6 months ago. I clicked another. She was jogging. Another. She was salsa dancing, laughing, twirling. I covered my mouth. I watched for hours. Every clip a lie. Every smile a knife in my back. At 3 a.m, I heard her stir. I shut the laptop and slid the flash drive into my pocket. The next morning, she was back in her bed, moaning about her knees. "I think we need to call Ainsley," she said, as I handed her breakfast. "It's time to finalise the will." I didn't say anything. She looked at me. "You've been so good to me, Melanie, but sometimes people change their minds." I nodded. Of course they do. Later that afternoon, I checked the mail. Among the bills and flyers was a cream-coloured envelope, no return address. Inside, a single note. "We've seen her walking. You aren't crazy." I looked up and down the street. No one. I went back inside and smiled at her, like nothing had changed. But everything had. I waited until she was snoring. Not the fake kind she does when she wants me to think she's asleep. The real, deep, open mouth kind. The kind where her breath rattled like a loose screen door. I stood in the hallway, holding my breath, then pushed her bedroom door open just enough to peek in. Her arm was flung over her face. The TV was still on, some rerun of a cooking show flickering against the walls. I crept in. Her closet door creaked when I opened it, so I paused, heart thudding in my ears. Nothing. I crouched and started feeling behind the shelves. My fingers brushed the edge of something hard, a wooden box. I pulled it out. Inside were old journals, some receipts, and a crumpled envelope with my name on it. I didn't open it, not yet. I kept digging. That's when I found the second flash drive, tucked inside a satin point shoe, stuffed behind a stack of old scarves. I stared at it for a second, then slipped it into my hoodie pocket and backed out of the room. In my bedroom, I plugged it in. This one was worse. Clips of her dancing, again. But this time, she wasn't alone. She was in a group class, laughing with other women. One video showed her twirling in front of a mirror, mouthing the lyrics to some pop song. Another had her lifting weights in our garage. The timestamp? 2 weeks ago. The same day she told me she couldn't lift a spoon. I clicked through the files, faster now. One showed her pruning roses in the backyard. Another, her walking the dog, our neighbour's dog. She told me she was allergic to dogs. I slammed the laptop shut. The next morning I made her eggs. She barely touched them. "My stomach's off," she said. "Maybe from the stress. I've been thinking a lot about the will." I poured her more juice. "What about it?" "Well," she sighed, "you know Ainsley's coming over next week. just to finalize a few things. I've been wondering if it's fair to put everything on you." I smiled. "You mean since I've been taking care of you?" She blinked. "Exactly. Maybe it's too much responsibility." I nodded. "Maybe." She didn't say anything else, just looked at me over her tea like she was trying to read my mind. That afternoon, I got a call from Ainsley. "Hey Melanie, just a heads up, I'll be dropping by on Thursday. Your mum wants to go over the final draft of her will." "Final draft?" "Yeah, she's making some changes. Nothing personal. Clients are allowed to choose what's best for them." I stared at the wall. "Right, of course. Anyway, I'll only need an hour or so. She said you'd be home?" I swallowed. I always am. After I hung up, I sat at the kitchen table and stared at the flash drive. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from rage. She was cutting me out. I'd given her 5 years, my 20s, my sanity. I missed my best friend's wedding because she had a bad spell that week. I turned down a job interview because she couldn't be left alone for more than an hour. I skipped dates, birthdays, everything, and now she was cutting me out. My phone buzzed again. Yana. "Hey sis, just sent you the pics for the slideshow. Let me know if you need more. Can't wait for the party." Marissa. "I'll be flying in Friday. Let's make this birthday one she'll never forget. Oh, I plan to." That night, I started building a new slideshow. I used the photos they sent, childhood birthdays, vacations, baby pictures. But I added my own clips too. A secret playlist, one that started with a smiling photo of Mom in her wheelchair, then cut to her jogging down the street in leggings and a ponytail. Roman called while I was editing. "Hey," he said, "you sound weird. Everything okay?" Roman and I had dated in high school. We reconnected last month in a caregiver support group. He was taking care of his dad. We started texting, then talking, then coffee. "You ever feel like you're going insane?" I asked him. He was quiet for a second. "All the time." "I found something," I said. "Videos. Proof she's been faking. Jesus, she's cutting me out of the will. Mel, what are you going to do?" I stared at the screen. "I'm going to show everyone." He exhaled. "You sure? She's throwing a party, a celebration of resilience. Gianna's idea. I'm in charge of the slideshow." "Melanie, I'm done being the good daughter." He didn't say anything for a while. Then, "Just remember, when you burn down the house, you don't get to sleep in it after." I hung up. The next morning, I checked the mail. Another envelope. No return address. Inside, a photo. My mother, in yoga pants, walking a golden retriever down our block. On the back, in messy handwriting, "You're not crazy." I stared at it for a long time. Then I smiled. "Melanie, can you come here a sec?" Mum's voice floated down the hallway like always, soft, sweet, and soaked in manipulation. I paused mid-click. I was editing the final segment of the slideshow, the part where her lies would unravel in 1080p clarity. "Coming," I called, saving the file. She was sitting upright in bed, robe tied tight, hair curled. She looked like she was about to host a morning show, not a woman who claimed to be too weak to walk to the bathroom. "I was thinking," she said, patting the bed beside her. "Maybe we should add that picture of me holding you after your tonsil surgery. You looked so small. It might remind your sisters how much I've been through." I sat down, careful not to let the flash drive in my hoodie pocket press against her. "Sure, I'll find it." She smiled, all teeth. You've always been so good at this stuff. I'm lucky to have you." I nodded. "You are." She didn't catch the edge in my voice. Later, I was in the living room when Gianna FaceTimed me. Her background was some rooftop pool in LA. She wore big sunglasses and a bikini top that probably cost more than my rent. "Hey, baby sis, just checking on the slideshow. I sent you like 20 pics. Did you get them?" "Got 'em," I said, angling the camera away from the laptop screen. "Okay, amazing. I'm thinking we open with that one of Mom in the hospital gown, like super dramatic, and then we go into the family stuff. You know, make it emotional." "Right," I said. "Emotional. Oh, and can you include the one of her holding the get well soon balloon? That one always makes me cry." I smiled. "It'll be in there." "Ugh, you're the best. I knew you'd make this perfect. Marissa said she's bringing her assistant to help with logistics. Can you believe that? An assistant for a birthday party?" "Sounds about right." Gianna giggled. "Anyway, gotta go. Facial appointment. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. I turned back to the laptop and dragged in the next file. Mom doing downward dog in the living room. Timestamp, 2 months ago. Same day she told me she couldn't stand without crying. The next morning, Roman showed up at the back door with 2 coffees and a look that said he wasn't here for small talk. "You sure about this?" he asked, handing me a cup. Too late to back out. He leaned against the counter. "You know this is going to blow up everything, right?" I took a sip. "Good." He studied me. "You don't look angry anymore. That's what's scary." I shrugged. "I'm not angry. I'm ready." Roman set his coffee down. "You need a backup, just in case." I made copies of the flash drive. "Good. Where?" "One's in my glove compartment. One's in the freezer." He raised an eyebrow. "The freezer?" "No one checks the freezer." He laughed, then his face turned serious. "You're not alone in this, okay? If it gets ugly, it already is." He didn't argue. That afternoon, I got another call from Ainsley. She sounded chipper, like she'd just closed a big deal. "Hey, Melanie, just confirming I'll be at the house Thursday morning. Your mum's very specific about the timing." "Of course she is." "She mentioned you're doing the slideshow for the party. That's so sweet of you." "Yeah, I wanted to make it unforgettable." A beat of silence. "Well, I'm sure it will be. Anyway, see you soon." I hung up and stared at the screen. I opened the slideshow one more time and hit play. It started with old photos, Mom holding me as a baby, the 3 of us at the beach, her in a hospital bed with a dramatic moan face. Then it shifted, slowly. A video of her walking the dog, another of her salsa dancing in the community centre. Then yoga, jogging, laughing. I added music. Something soft at first, then building, like a reveal. The final clip was her in the mirror, adjusting her sports bra and talking to someone off camera. I swear, if Melanie ever finds out, she'll lose her mind. But what else am I supposed to do? It's not like I asked her to give up her life. She laughed. I paused the video and stared at her frozen face. That night, after dinner, she called me into her room again. "Sit," she said, patting the bed. I sat. "You've been quiet lately." "Just tired," she nodded. "You'll be free soon, once everything's settled." I looked at her. "What does that mean?" She smiled, slow and deliberate. "Just that. People move on. Things change. Don't expect the family to remember your name once I'm gone." I stood up. "Good night, Mum." As I walked out, she called after me. "Make sure the slideshow's beautiful. I want them to cry." I didn't turn around. The next morning, I woke up early and checked the flash drive one last time. Then I swapped it into the presentation laptop Gianna had shipped over. I tested it. It worked. The party was in 2 days, and I wasn't just going to light the match. I was going to make sure everyone watched it burn. I knocked on Uriel's door just after 9. He opened it in a paint-splattered t-shirt, holding a mug of black coffee. "Morning," I said. "Got a second?" He squinted at me. "You okay?" "Not really," I said. "Can we talk?" He stepped aside. "Come in." I followed him into the living room. It smelled like cedar and old books. A half-finished painting leaned against the wall, something abstract in reds and golds. "I need to ask you something," I said, sitting on the edge of the couch. "Have you seen my mom walking around, like, recently?" He took a sip of coffee, then nodded slowly. "Yeah, a few times." "How many is a few?" Uriel scratched his beard. "First time was maybe 6 months ago. She was walking that golden retriever. Buddy, I think. Belongs to the woman on the corner. Then again, a couple weeks back, jogging. I thought maybe she'd gotten better." "She hasn't been sick," I said. "She's been faking it, for years." He sat down across from me. Jesus. I found videos of her dancing, doing yoga, walking around like nothing's wrong. Uriel shook his head. "I always thought it was weird. She'd wave at me, then disappear back inside like she didn't want anyone to see. She told everyone she couldn't stand without help. She made me bathe her." His face tightened. "That's messed up. She's throwing this big birthday party, a celebration of resilience. I'm supposed to show a slideshow." Uriel raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, you're not showing baby pictures." I smiled, tight. "Not exactly." He leaned forward. "You sure you want to do this?" "She's cutting me out of the will, after everything I gave up." Uriel nodded. "Then burn it down." I left his house with a weird sense of calm, like the truth had weight, and I'd finally handed some of it to someone else. Back home, I went straight to the laptop. I upgraded the slideshow software, added transitions, adjusted the audio. I wanted it crystal clear. No one could say it was fake. I made 2 more copies of the flash drive. One went into a plastic bag and into the freezer, behind the frozen peas. The other I taped to the inside of my glove compartment. Then I sat down and wrote a note. Just in case. If anything happens to me, this is the truth. I was not crazy, I was not cruel, I was just tired of being used. I folded it and slipped it into the freezer bag with the drive. That night, Roman came by with takeout, Thai food. We ate in silence for a while. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." I put down my fork. "She told me last night that I'd be free soon, then said not to expect the family to remember me once she's gone." Roman blinked. "What the hell does that mean?" "I think she's planning to cut me out of everything, and she wants me to know it." He leaned back in his chair. "She's sick. Not physically, but something's wrong in her head." I nodded. "I know." He looked at me. "You still want to go through with it? I have to." Roman reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "Then take this." "What is it?" "Second flash drive. I copied the videos you sent me. If anything happens, I'll post it." I stared at him. "You already made a copy?" He shrugged. You're not the only one who knows how to plan. I smiled for the first time all day. The next morning, I woke up to find Mom already dressed. Full makeup, hair curled. She was sitting at the kitchen table, sipping tea like it was a talk show set. Big day tomorrow, she said. Yep. I hope you picked good photos. Nothing too embarrassing. I poured myself coffee. I think people will be surprised. She smiled. Good. I like surprises. I sat across from her. You know what I've been thinking about? That time I missed my college graduation because you had the flu. She waved a hand. Oh, don't be dramatic. You were going to skip it anyway. No, I wasn't. She tilted her head. Well, it's not like it mattered. You didn't get a job after, did you? I stared at her. I didn't get a job because I stayed to take care of you. She sipped her tea, and I'll always be grateful. I stood up. You're not. She blinked. Excuse me? You're not grateful. You're just good at pretending. She opened her mouth, but I walked out before she could speak. In my room, I checked the slideshow one last time. I added a final slide. The truth doesn't need to scream, it just needs to be seen. That night, I barely slept. I kept seeing her face in those videos, laughing, spinning, lying. In the morning, I packed up the laptop, the flash drive, and the backup. I wore black. Not because it was a party, but because I was mourning something. Maybe myself. As I walked past her room, she called out, "You ready?" I didn't stop. More than ever, and I meant it. The venue was rented out, a fancy event space downtown with vaulted ceilings, white tablecloths, and a string quartet playing near the entrance like we were at a wedding instead of a birthday party for a woman who'd faked being sick for half a decade. I walked in behind Mom, pushing her in the wheelchair she didn't need. She wore a pale lavender dress, her signature frail but fabulous look. Her makeup was flawless. She waved gently to the guests like some tragic queen. Gianna ran up in stilettos and a sparkly jumpsuit. "Oh my God, you both look amazing." She kissed Mom on the cheek. "You're glowing." "It's the love," Mum said, smiling sweetly. "I feel so supported." Marissa was already inside, clipboard in hand, barking orders at the caterers. Her husband, Marquis, stood near the bar, sipping something brown and looking like he wanted to disappear. "Melanie," Marissa said, walking over. "Did you bring the laptop?" I held up the bag. "Got it right here. Perfect. We're starting the slideshow after Gianna's speech. Don't be late setting it up." I nodded. Wouldn't dream of it. People started arriving fast. Old neighbours, church ladies, even a few of Mum's book club friends who hadn't seen her in years. They hugged her like she'd survived a war. "She's a miracle," one woman whispered to another. I set the laptop up at the back of the room, plugged it into the projector, checked the file twice. The videos were all there. The music was cued. The final slide was ready. Roman slipped in through the side door and gave me a nod. He leaned against the wall near the exit, arms crossed. Gianna took the mic and clinked her glass. "Hi everyone. Thank you for coming to celebrate the strongest, most inspiring woman we know, our mum." Applause. She's been through so much, and yet she's still here, smiling, teaching us what grace looks like. So before we eat, we wanted to share a little tribute, a walk down memory lane. She gestured toward me. "Melanie put this together. Let's give her a hand." Everyone clapped. I smiled tightly and hit play. The screen lit up. Soft piano music, childhood photos, Mum holding us as babies, beach trips, birthday cakes. The room was full of sniffles and smiles. Then the music dipped. The next image was Mom walking Buddy, the neighbour's dog, in yoga pants and sunglasses. The room went silent. The video cut to her jogging down the street, waving at someone off-screen. Then her in the living room, doing yoga poses with perfect form. Then salsa dancing, twirling, laughing. Gasps. A glass shattered near the buffet table. The music stopped. The final clip played, Mom in the mirror, adjusting her leggings. If Melanie ever finds out, she'll lose her mind. But what else am I supposed to do? It's not like I asked her to give up her life. Laughter. Then, black screen. White text. The truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to be seen. Silence. I turned to look at her. Mum's face was frozen, pale. She blinked once, then again. She opened her mouth, closed it, then slumped forward in the wheelchair. Someone screamed. Gianna rushed over. "Mum? Mum?" Marissa grabbed my arm. "What the hell was that?" I pulled away. "She's been lying," I said. "For years. I took care of her every day while she went out dancing." Mum groaned softly and opened one eye. Gianna gasped. "Is she faking?" Roman stepped forward. "She's fine." Mum sat up slowly, blinking like she just woke from a dream. I don't understand," she stammered. "That was old footage. I was just trying to stay strong, for Melanie." Marissa's mouth dropped open. "You said you couldn't walk." Mum looked around, eyes darting. "It was performance therapy. My doctor said to keep moving mentally. It was all for my recovery." Gianna looked like she'd been slapped. "You lied to us." "I didn't lie," Mum snapped. "I survived. I did what I had to." "You made me feel guilty for not visiting," Gianna said, voice shaking. "You made me pay for a nurse you didn't need," Marissa said. "I gave up 5 years of my life," I said. "And you were out here doing Zumba." Mum looked at me, eyes wide. "I had to keep you close. You were drifting. I needed you." "No," I said. "You needed control." She reached for my hand. "Please, don't do this." I stepped back. Marissa turned to Ainsley, who had just arrived, and stood frozen near the door. "You knew about this?" Ainsley's face was blank. I can't comment on client matters." Gianna screamed. "This is insane." The room erupted. Voices overlapping, people shouting. Some guests slipped out. Others stayed, watching like it was a reality show. Marquis came over and pulled me aside. "I always thought something was off," he said. "She was too dramatic." I nodded. "You were right." He looked at me. "You okay?" "I don't know." Mum was still in the middle of the chaos, trying to explain, crying now. Gianna was filming it. Marissa was on the phone with someone, probably a lawyer. I walked out. Roman followed me into the hallway. "You did it," he said. "Yeah." He nodded toward the door. "They'll never see her the same again." "I don't want them to." He looked at me. "You ready for what comes next?" I took a deep breath. No. But I walked out anyway. I didn't go back inside. I stood on the sidewalk outside the venue, arms crossed, watching guests trickle out with stunned faces and tight whispers. Some avoided eye contact. A few looked at me like I'd just kicked a puppy. I didn't care. Roman stood beside me, silent. He didn't try to hug me or say some comforting line. He just stood there, solid, like a wall I could lean on if I needed. The door burst open behind us. Gianna stormed out, heels clicking hard against the pavement. "You ruined everything," she shouted, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I turned to face her. I showed the truth. She pointed a shaking finger at me. "You ambushed her, in front of everyone. That wasn't brave. That was disgusting. She lied to all of us. She's our mother. She made me her nurse, Gianna, while she danced around town." Gianna scoffed. "You could have said something, privately, not like that. She never listens. None of you do." Marissa came out next, phone still in hand. She looked between us, then at me. "What happens now?" "I don't know," I said. "Ask her." "She's saying it was all part of some therapy routine, that she was trying to stay mentally active." "She said that while salsa dancing?" Marissa didn't answer. "She was going to cut me out of the will," I added. "I heard her say it. She told me I'd be forgotten." Marissa blinked. Gianna crossed her arms. "You're jealous. That's all this is." I laughed. Jealous of what? Of losing my 20s to a woman who made me feel guilty for wanting a weekend off. "She's sick. She's manipulative." Gianna turned and walked off, heels wobbling. Marissa stayed. "I want to see the videos again," she said. "All of them, not just what you showed. I'll send them to you." She nodded, then looked at Roman. "You helped her?" Roman shrugged. She didn't need help, just someone who believed her. Marissa looked tired. "I need to talk to Ainsley. Something's not right." "She knew," I said. "She helped Mom." Marissa didn't argue. That night, I sat on my bed, the flash drive plugged into my laptop. I watched the clips again. Not because I had to, because I needed to remember what I'd seen, that it wasn't in my head, that I wasn't crazy. Then my phone buzzed. Roman. "Check this." A link. I clicked it. A video. The same one I'd shown at the party. Only this time it was online, public, already at 3,000 views. I called him. "You posted it?" "Not me," he said. "Someone did. One of the guests, maybe. Or someone forwarded it." My stomach dropped. It's everywhere. It's not going away. I opened my social media. Notifications were blowing up. DMs, tags, people commenting things like "caregiver scam" and "this woman deserves jail." My phone rang again. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Another call. Then another. I turned it off and tossed it on the bed. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at a cold cup of coffee. Mum hadn't come out of her room. The silence in the house was thick. Then the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a reporter standing there, microphone in hand, camera crew behind him. "Melanie, do you have a comment about your mother's condition?" I shut the door. A few minutes later, another knock. This time it was Ainsley. Her eyes were bloodshot, hair pulled back tight. "I need to speak to your mother," she said. "She's not taking visitors. I'm her lawyer. Not anymore." She pushed past me and walked straight to the bedroom. I followed. Mum was sitting on her bed, robe wrapped tight, eyes puffy. "Ainsley?" she said, voice hoarse. "I didn't expect—" "We need to talk," Ainsley snapped. "There's an investigation now. Elder fraud, financial abuse. I could lose my license." Mum's lip trembled. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." "You told me you were sick," Ainsley hissed. "You made me sign off on things. You made me lie." "I just wanted someone to stay," Mum whispered. Ainsley turned to me. "She's going to be questioned. You might be too. I have nothing to hide." Ainsley didn't respond. She just walked out. Mum looked at me. They're making me out to be a monster. I leaned against the doorframe. You made yourself one. I was scared. You were selfish. She wiped her eyes. I left you the house, in the will. You should know that. I didn't react. But there are conditions, she added. You'll see them soon. I turned and walked away. That night, Marissa called. I filed a formal complaint, she said, against Mum, against Ainsley, for manipulation, psychological abuse. I sat down. You believe me now? I saw the videos, all of them. Silence. I'm sorry, she said. I didn't know what to say back. The next morning, a letter arrived, hand-delivered. To Melanie, you can have the house, but you'll always remember what you had to do to get it. Mum. I folded it and placed it in the drawer with the flash drive. Outside, another reporter stood on the lawn. I closed the blinds. The local news truck was parked outside the house for 2 days. On the third, they left, but the story didn't. It was all over the internet. Headlines like, "Daughter exposes mother's illness, hoax at birthday party," and "Caregiver's revenge goes viral," were everywhere. People picked sides. Some called me brave. Others called me cruel. Mum called a press conference. She sat in a wheelchair again, of course, outside the community centre, flanked by 2 lawyers and a tissue box. She wore a soft pink sweater and her best victim face. "I never meant to deceive anyone," she said, dabbing her eyes. "My daughter is deeply troubled. She misunderstood everything." I watched it on my phone in Roman's apartment, sitting at the edge of his couch. "She's really going with that?" Roman asked, pacing. "She's doubling down," I said. "She's throwing you under the bus." "She already did that. I just moved out from under it." He stopped pacing. "You okay?" I nodded. I'm not surprised. A few hours later, Ainsley's name started trending. Someone leaked emails, screenshots, proof she knew about the deception and helped Mom with the will changes, the fake medical records, everything. By evening, Ainsley made her own statement, throwing Mum under the bus right back. "I was misled," she said on a live stream. "I trusted my client. I regret that trust." Roman handed me a beer. They're all eating each other now. I took a sip. Good. A letter arrived the next day, certified mail, from the firm handling the estate. "You are invited to attend a final mediation regarding the will of Nancy. Attendance is optional, but recommended." I tossed it on the table. "You going?" Roman asked. "No." "Why not?" "I don't want anything from her." He nodded. "Fair." That night, I sat out on his fire escape, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights. Roman joined me with 2 mugs of tea. "You satisfied?" he asked. I stared ahead. I thought I would be. He waited. "I wanted justice," I said. "I got spectacle." He nodded slowly. "Sometimes they're the same thing." "Not really." He looked at me. "But you're free now." I didn't answer. The next morning, I got a call from Marissa. "She's trying to settle," she said. "She wants everything to go away quietly." "Of course she does." I said no. I want a full inquiry. I want her to explain herself in court. I blinked. "You're serious? She used all of us. She made me pay for things she didn't need. She made me feel guilty for not being home." I sat down. "You really believe me now?" "I do." She paused. "You started something, and I'm not letting it die." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, listening to the sound of someone else finally picking up the torch. Later that day, I drove back to the house, just once. I parked outside and stared at the windows. It looked smaller than I remembered, older. I didn't go in. Instead, I walked around the backyard. The roses were still blooming, the ones she trimmed in secret while I thought she was too weak to stand. I pulled out my phone and took a picture. Then I left. When I got back to Roman's place, he handed me another envelope. "This came for you." Inside was the official will. Attached was a note in Mom's handwriting. "You win, but you'll always be the girl who needed an audience." Roman read it over my shoulder. "She still thinks this is about attention. She doesn't understand anything. You gonna keep the house?" "No." "Sell it?" I nodded. He watched me for a second. "You know you don't have to stay here, but if you want to, the couch is yours." I gave him a small smile. "Thanks." That night, I packed up the flash drives, all of them. The original, the backups, the one Roman made. I put them in a small lockbox and labelled it The Truth. Then, I drove to the storage unit I'd rented the week before. I placed the box on the top shelf, closed the door, and locked it. As I walked away, I whispered, "I didn't set the fire. I just made sure everyone saw the smoke." And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. The house sold in 9 days. A young couple bought it, newlyweds, both teachers. They loved the rose bushes and the quiet street. I handed them the keys without stepping inside. I didn't need to walk those rooms again. I'd already memorized every corner, every lie told in the hallway, every tear cried in the kitchen. Roman waited in the car while I signed the last papers. When I slid into the passenger seat, he handed me a bottle of water and didn't say anything. He didn't have to. We drove in silence. Not the awkward kind, the kind that says, "You've made it through something, and now you get to breathe." Back at his apartment, I tossed the envelope with the check onto the counter and opened the fridge. "You hungry?" I asked. Roman leaned against the wall. "Always." I pulled out leftover pasta and started heating it up. He grabbed 2 plates. "So," he said, "what now?" "I don't know. Sleep. Maybe get a job. Something where I don't have to wipe anyone's mouth." He smirked. "You ever think about writing?" I raised an eyebrow. "Writing? You've got a story. People clearly want to hear it." I shook my head. "I don't want to be the girl with the viral mom." "You're more than that." The microwave beeped. I plated the pasta and handed him a fork. "I just want something simple," I said. "A life that's mine." He nodded. "You've earned that." After dinner, I went to the storage unit, alone. The air inside was cold and stale. I unlocked the metal door and stepped in. The lockbox sat on the top shelf, right where I left it. I opened it, looked at the flash drive, the note, the envelope with her final words. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything, really. I closed the box, locked it again, and slid it to the back of the shelf. Outside, the sky was turning pink. I stood there for a minute, watching the sun dip behind the buildings. My phone buzzed. "Gianna. Just saw another article. You happy now?" I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without replying. She'd made her choice. Marissa called later that night. She was calm, measured. "I'm meeting with the lawyers tomorrow," she said. "They want to press charges. Fraud, maybe even emotional abuse. You going to?" "I think so." "Okay. You don't want to be involved?" "No," I said, I already did what I needed to. She was quiet for a second. You know, for what it's worth, I should have seen it. I just didn't want to. It's easier not to. Still, I'm sorry. Thanks. After we hung up, I sat on the balcony with a blanket and a cup of tea. Roman joined me, setting his mug down beside mine. You look lighter, he said. I feel empty, but in a good way. He smiled, like clearing out an old closet. Exactly. We watched the city lights flicker on. You staying here long? He asked. Not forever, just until I figure out what's next. You've got time. I've got time, I echoed. He reached over and touched my hand, just a small gesture, but it felt like the first real thing in a long time. The next morning, I walked to a nearby bookstore. They had a help wanted sign in the window. I stepped inside, asked for the manager, and filled out an application. It felt stupidly normal and perfect. When I got back, Roman was making pancakes. You get the job? He asked. Don't know yet. He flipped one onto a plate. You will. I sat at the table and watched the batter sizzle. The smell of vanilla and butter filled the room. Do you think people can change? I asked. He turned off the stove. Some can, some don't want to. I nodded. I think she wanted to, but not enough. He slid the plate in front of me. You changed. I had to. You didn't burn the house down, you know, he said. You just opened the windows and let the smoke out. I smiled. That's generous. He poured syrup over the pancakes. You hungry? Starving. We ate in silence, the good kind again. And just like that, life began to feel like mine. Not borrowed, not stolen, mine.